Welcome back, fantasy football backers. This is Devo1099 or Tom. We are joined by Big O1 or Nicholas out in London. Nick, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, all good. Just lost some money on Europa League, but apart from that, it's all good.
You got to give it back somewhere. You
Yeah.
took a lot of people's money in the last couple of weeks. That's why we have to have you back on the show so that at least some people can copy some of your selections, so you don't beat them quite as badly.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about this slate, so we'll see. We'll see.
If anybody claimed to be sure about this slate, I would be very curious where they were getting their information.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough one, very tough one.
Very tough one. Let's get right to it. The opening match that will not be in any of the contests is Palace hosting West Brom. A favorite of ours, or at least of mine, I believe you like him as well, is Gale, who is now getting a little bit more pitch time. For whatever reason, he seems to manage to fall out of favor at Palace, but I like him this week. It's a lottery picking among their midfielders, though Cabaye does take the penalties, so he's interesting. Anybody else you would be looking at from that game if you played the full slate?
Well, Bolasie is always a good punt in GPP. He doesn't score much, but he gets tons of peripherals. So why not? Apparently, Gale was supposed to be on penalties, from what I read, and it chickened out. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure who will be on the next one, to be honest. But yeah, definitely, if it's Cabaye, then all of a sudden, is a good play. The defense. I mean, obviously West Brom doesn't score so much on the road. So you have Suarez and Hennessy if he plays, who are quite well priced and could be good players to have, especially in this slate where there are no obvious clean sheets except for Man City. So I guess those two guys, Bolasie and Gale, will be my main four of the slate.
Yeah.
Not too keen on West Brom, to be honest, as you can imagine. But
no, it's hard to like a team that just managed to give up 3 straight unanswered at home when they're supposed to be a strong defensive side. It's difficult. I've been a little bit doubtful of Pulis from the beginning, just because it just seems like a record that is made to change, and he did a good job keeping them up last year, but I just don't think that they have enough quality to really stand up to really solid Premier League teams. So I don't know where Palace is in that range. I think they're probably a mid-table team that can play both really well and really poorly, and you don't know which one's going to show up. But I think it's fortunate that we can just leave that one out of the slate after all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Except again, maybe the defense wouldn't be too bad in this slate, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. Well, the opening one, which I actually think will be surprisingly active potentially, is Villa hosting Stoke.
Yeah.
I've noticed, and we've been keeping an eye on this, and Martin has mentioned it in his articles, is Stoke might have a worse record defensively than even Sunderland. The goals have not quite been scored on them, but they've given up more big chances than anyone else, which is very strange for them. That's not always a type of actionable information that you can use, but it's to the point now where it just seems like that's who they are this season as of right now. Butland's been pretty good, but do you think Villa could be someone who can exploit that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends who they play up front. If they play the same team as last week, which for me is the best team, definitely they have goals in them. They will be in front of crowds, which will push them up as well. And I like Villa this week. I think we could see a few goals, even if the bookies do not price it. But I could see a couple or 3 goals in this game. And the most important in their players are very cheap. So obviously when you need like your 4 Man City guys, those are the kind of players like Gestede and Sinclair and all these guys are perfect plug-in if you want. And I'll have a few Villa in.
Yeah, I was surprised. The first draft that I did, I had more Villa than I thought. I wasn't even looking at Amavi and Bakuna. Bakuna's down at 6'2", and Amavi's 8'2", which is getting a little bit pricey. But if Stoke doesn't have Shaqiri, away from home, and I do like Diouf, but I could see some Villa defenders, and then like you said, Gestede. I think Sinclair will be fairly low owned because he burned so many people last time he was a good play coming off at halftime. So if he's starting and still on penalty duty, and Stoke is giving up the chances that they've been giving up, I think I would probably opt for him over Gestede, just because, Gestede scored 2 headers or something, which is good. I know one of them was a header, but
two of them, yeah. Against Liverpool, though, at Liverpool, so it's a much game.
Well, no doubt he's getting himself in good positions, but at the same price, I think I would probably opt for Sinclair. There's no chance that you're playing 2 Villa forwards, so you'll have to make a decision. With the guy who multi-enters tournaments, I'm sure you'll have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I'll have a fair share of those two. I think I will split them indeed. I can't see, maybe Westwood is okay. I can't see any other Villa midfield or strikers. Bakuna, I'm not sure he will play. Last 2 games, Hutton played.
Right.
And he's much more expensive.
Right, because he gets those random assists.
Yeah, but Guzan is cheap, 5.1, I think. So
enjoy. One player that I've mentioned for a long time with you that you always scoff at is Grealish. He's still collecting fouls. He just has such a low floor, but it seems like he's a little bit more involved in the attack. He's not that inexpensive. But one to keep an eye on, because I think he'll go relatively low owned, but if he can get a couple fouls and get involved in a goal, he'll certainly pay himself off.
Yeah, he scored his first goal last week or 2 weeks ago. The problem is the fouls are not that worthy anymore. It's 0.5, so he used to draw like 3-4 fouls a game, and that was 4 points. Now it's only 2 points, so all of a sudden the floor is much lower for him. So he needs to be at 8 million. You need something more than drawing like a couple of fouls.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a punt for sure. But
he's okay. Yeah, no, he's okay for sure.
But it's a barren slate. It is a really barren slate.
In any other slate, I'm not sure. I will have tons of him, but
we wouldn't have spent 5 minutes talking about Villa on any other slate. So
yeah.
I like Bojan. I like Diouf. I don't know that away from home at forward they'll get any more attention than that. I think if you don't like Villa's attack, then Butland will probably get a number of opportunities for saves. And I think he was 7-7, something like that.
Yeah, which is quite expensive for me.
I agree. I won't be touching them, but these contests can get pretty big. So
no, I agree.
Somebody might, and I don't think it's a terrible play. But beyond that, I'm not gonna mess with Stoke.
No, I agree. Even Bojan starts to be expensive for a midfield as a striker in Mondogoal.
Right, it doesn't get the clean sheet potential, and
he passes a lot, but for a striker, it doesn't bring that many points at the end. I don't know. I mean, it's a slate where you can find tons of cheap strikers, like we said, Gestede, and there will be more to come. So would I use one of the 3 spots on Bojan? I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan.
I agree. I don't see him getting a brace, and if you're trying to win the large contest,
on
then
the GPP,
you need to at least be able to envision that.
Yeah,
All right. Next, the severely injured Bournemouth hosting Watford. I think is this the first matchup between promoted teams? I'm not sure. But
good question.
Not that it really matters too much, but Watford's been playing relatively defensively, but they do have Igalo and Deeney, and then now Bournemouth is out. I think Wilson was still the leading scorer in the Premier League, and now he's done for the season. I've read, for the most part, it seems a consensus is Glenn Murray will start. I just have this weird feeling that Kermorgant, is that how you say his name?
Oh, yeah. French. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yes.
I have a weird feeling, based on virtually nothing, that he may draw the start. Maybe he starts alongside Murray. But if you remember at the beginning of the season, how loyal he was to players that had played on the team last year. And we were all expecting Mings to start, and he didn't get in the team. We wanted Gradle to start. He didn't get in the team early on. Of course, they are both injured now as well. I could potentially see Kermorgant getting a start and being on penalty duty, because that's what he was their primary taker last year. So keep that in mind. We'll have the lineups, and he's 3.9 million, I think. Is that, or I may be thinking of something. No, maybe not that cheap. Sorry, he's 8.5. He's 3,900 on DraftKings. I misspoke. So
yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, it was 12 million on the first game week.
Well, he was good. He was very good last year.
Yeah,
So 8.5 is probably a little steep unless he's playing alone. Murray is only 5 million. Certainly didn't enter this season thinking we would have to worry about Glenn Murray again, but he just won't die. Would you be willing to take him at 5 million as one of your striker spots?
If he starts, yeah, definitely. I think it would be very popular. That's a problem as well. It's kind of like all or nothing with this guy, because he gets absolutely zero peripheral, absolutely zero. I mean, he passes. I think the average is 9 completed passes per game.
Right.
He fouls more than anything. He even gets a few yellows. So his floor is so bad. But for GPP, yeah, definitely. At 5 million is the problem is I'm not a big fan, but it would be so popular that you can't just leave him alone. If you enter more than one team, it will be hard to ignore.
And this is a match that they should be able to score in. I have them down as like the 4th or 5th highest scoring team in this slate. So, I'm with you. I don't like the fact that he has a low floor. I don't really think he's very good. But when you've got a guy who's tall and potentially the lone striker for a team that has actually shown pretty well in possession over the season, at 5 million, I think you're probably overthinking it if you don't have him on a fair amount of teams.
I agree.
In the midfield, there's 2 primary players that we'll look at. There's Richie, who I know you don't particularly like, at 10-1, whose only contribution this season has been a stunning goal from distance. And then I actually like Pew, but 9-1 is not exactly a price that I'm excited about. But I don't know that. I mean, there's not a lot of places to spend your money, so I don't know. Well, outside of City, where everyone will spend their first 45 million. Would you take Pew or Richie?
Not much. Yeah. Richie, I think, he scored the only time I didn't have him. I'm not a fan, I have to say. It's the same. It's the same as Murray. It's so bad in terms of everything but scoring. he doesn't do much, and he came up with like a huge reputation from being kind of like a 15 goals, 17 assists last year, but I didn't see that. I mean, the last I watched them twice, so it's hard to judge. But
what's interesting about him
10 million is a lot.
It is.
And he's not on penalties as well.
He's almost always up there when you look at touches in the final third, or in the opponent's final third. Yeah. So he's getting in good positions, but he just doesn't seem to be doing much with it. I think in watching him, I think that the jump up in class athletically has been a big problem for him. He's not faster than anybody anymore. Maybe he's not able to turn the corners to get crosses in. He's looked to me, outside of that one stunning goal, he's looked overmatched. And, part of that, for sure, I want to be open about is that I was expecting him to play very well, and he's cost me a fair bit of money. So there's a little bit of bias. Yeah. There's a little bit of bias in that as well.
It's both. I mean, I think it's a problem as well. Everybody was expecting him to do well, so I guess even the opponents, I'm sure, closed him out completely. Mm-hmm. But even stats-wise, if you look at it, I mean, it's like so far, 4 shots on target in 7 games, like 2 chances created. I mean, it's not good stats. It's okay. Like maybe he touches the ball a lot, but like the strong stats, the shots on target, chances created. He shot a lot, but he doesn't get it on target. I don't know. I mean, for 10 million, I'm not a big fan, let's say. And I know it will be popular as well. So which for me is perfect because that's the thing is. Like,
I'm not scared of him. Yeah, he has 6 chances created in 7 weeks.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Still though, that's still terrible relative to where he was.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
It seems like
you expect like 3.
Francis has more or less taken over those opportunities down the right.
Yeah.
And he's actually been fairly good. I would rather turn to him at defense at 8.2 than play Richie. For me,
I agree.
Richie's one goal was not really repeatable, and he doesn't have anything else going for him. So I'm comfortable moving on until he proves that I need to put him back on my radar. Watford, I think, will probably be under-owned.
Igalo is always quite highly owned for some reasons, but
well, because I think he has the most goals in England in 2015 now, right?
Yeah, true.
A calendar season, whatever that means, it's a silly stat, but you find the goal that many times, you have to start paying a little bit of attention.
No, that's true. But it's 9 million. It used to be 4 million. Now it's 9.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's it. Right. Sure. That's the big catch. And now he's away.
Still, last week he was on like crazy. I mean, in all the games I had, even the high stake games, he was there. I was amazed because, like, in the high stakes, I would expect him to be 0% owned, and he was like probably 20% or 30%.
Here, let me read off his matches where he hasn't scored a goal this year: 6.7, 2.2, 2.1, 4.1. So enjoy that if you want to spend 9 million on Igalo.
I don't say it's a bad player. I say it will be so highly owned for the expected points that.
Yeah, I don't think there's much room to profit on him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to fade him, but obviously I could get burned. But that's fine. I'm fine with that.
The game, I mean, it's one of those games that could get out of hand because Bournemouth doesn't mind playing in 3-2 type matches. But Watford usually tries to keep things closed down. They may play for a draw away, and I don't know. The whole game is a little bit tricky to me. I think I would take Francis, as I mentioned, and maybe either Murray or Kermorgan. But even Kermorgan at 8.5 is kind of silly. All right, now let's move on to the main event for our purposes. Manchester City hosting Newcastle. Newcastle was feisty at home against Chelsea, who is not the Chelsea that we knew last season. Manchester City has been a little up and down about past week and a half or so, but did get a big win at Mönchengladbach. Coming home, they're a little bit banged up, but Silva's back. Aguero, got a penalty, which I don't want to give him too much credit for, but also he took a lot more shots.
Yeah, it was good.
You think City is going to be able to, press on for 4 or 5 goals here, or is this going to be?
Probably not.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Newcastle drew 2 times this year, and it's against Manchester United and Chelsea. So they're not such a bad team, like defensively. I think they were quite unlucky in general, both with injuries and. I can see Man City being very tired from yesterday's game as well. I don't know. No, I would expect something like 1-0 or 2-0. Having said that, it's very hard to ignore their Aguero for sure, and a couple of their midfields. I mean, most of the people will have four Man City players, and that would include Aguero plus 2 mid or 3 mid.
Yeah, I think that we have to be clear about the fact that while we are not certain they'll go off for 4 or 5 goals, there's almost no scenario where I don't have 4 Manchester City players on my team anyway.
Yeah,
I agree. It's that type of slate, and we're not going to have the Chelsea lineup, which makes starting Remy or Falcao pretty risky. I don't know. Do you think Pellegrini might rotate at all for this if he sees this as an easy win, or do you think that at this point with their recent form that he's not like Wenger and sees easy wins where they don't exist?
Yeah, well, he will have to rotate. I think Yaya is pretty much out.
Company's out.
Company's out.
Mangala's out.
Too sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about Mangala. What's going on with him? I mean, all of a sudden he's injured. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Silva played 62 minutes. It was not the Silva we know. I know Navas, Nasri for sure are fit now. So I don't know. We probably might rotate. Kevin De Bruyne has played so much in the last 3 weeks as well.
Mm-hmm.
He might rotate, but we'll have the lineup. So if you rotate, the problem is that all of a sudden you will get tons of cash that you don't know what to do with. That's my only issue. Is like I'm happy to spend on De Bruyne and Silva just because I have the cash.
Yeah.
If Nasri and Navas starts, I probably have those 2 instead of, and all of a sudden I get like an extra 8 million.
Yeah,
what do you do with it?
I don't love Sterling. Playing on the left, he hasn't.
Was a striker as well, yeah.
Yeah, as a forward. What percentage of your teams will you have Joe Hart on? Assuming he starts, I don't see why you wouldn't. But after playing,
Hart.
Yeah.
10%.
Really?
Not much.
Because he's too expensive.
Yeah, because I love Kolarov. So I have Kolarov. No, it's not because it's too expensive. It's because basically I like 4 or 5 City players ahead of Hearts.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he will get tons of saves, but yeah, probably maybe 20%. But I'll have more of like Guzan, Boruc, Begovic. That's my 3 strikers.
Keepers, yeah.
You don't like it.
I think I always take a different mentality with keepers. I think for the big contests, you're probably right, just because there's not a whole lot of room to profit with Hart, and you probably need to hit on a Guzan or something. For cash, though, Hart's a mortal lock for probably 5.8 at worst if he gets up a goal. And really has a very good chance at 9.8 or 8.8, whatever, somewhere in that neighborhood. And these other keepers, I think every one of them could give up 2 goals, and I wouldn't be remotely shocked. So that's my concern. I am biased against Guzan because I live in the U.S. and I think he's awful. But
but it saves you 3 millions. Okay, let's forget Guzan. Okay, let's say Begovic then.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you get 2 millions and you get 4 Man City spots. That's the most important. I mean, if I had like unlimited Man City, I would definitely get hard because I would get the cash to pay 8 million for the guy. So it's not money wise. It's just
opportunity cost.
Okay, let's say Aguero is kind of locked in. Then you probably want 2 midfields. Whoever starts, De Bruyne, Silva, Navas. Well, Navas, I'm not sure. Okay, 1 to 2, and then I like Kolarov. Because I don't like this. I mean, you mentioned the goalkeepers, but the defenders are the same. I mean, the only good defenders are like Francis, Amavi, etc., and the 8 or 9 million. So at the end of the day, I prefer to have Kolarov ahead of those guys. So it's just, probably if Silva doesn't start, all of a sudden I get hard in 50% of my cash of my lineups. Yeah. But
it's interesting. I think that's an important strategic consideration. Is the opportunity cost of using a Manchester City spot on Hart when he can't, he can get value. He can return 8 or 9 points for 8 million. You're not going to get much of a profit out of him. Which if the week gets out of hand and there's goals, you will probably cost yourself some money by using 8 million there when you could have used 5 million on Guzan and gotten -1. But
and if there's a goal, if you have Kolarov, you can hope because his main things are really like he can assist, he can score. It's very hard to go without three Man City, attackers like midfield or strikers. So I don't know. I just did my cash team, and Hart is not in it. That's all I can say.
No, that's
but it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But then you don't get Kolarov, right? If you get Hart.
Right. So
or you get Hart
and Kolarov could get 15 points because he can score. He can assist.
Easily, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's sound rationale. We'll see how the lineups look and how it shakes out. I don't think I could trust Begovic.
No. I like Begovic. He gets saves as well.
If you took the Chelsea name off of their statistics, they're one of the worst defenses in the Premier League right now. Their expected goals against is, I think, second worst. Let's see. Second worst to Sunderland. Yeah. They've looked very poor. They didn't look good against Porto. There's whatever narrative you want to place on this, but there's internal strife now where players are complaining about Mourinho. He's doing, he's starting to, wield his power and in the rotations. There's, from Begovic's standpoint, there's nowhere else for him to turn. So he's certainly going to play, but we're not going to have those lineups. If he gets too creative and ends up with as exposed to defenses he's had. I like Southampton. I've always liked Southampton. Pella can get in there. Mane, Tadic. They're going to put some pressure, and they're going to play with nothing to lose away. We're jumping some games here, but 6.5 million is fine for Begovic. So I guess if that's the direction you go, I can't fault that. And he's, they're not too much worse off for clean sheet odds than Man City. They're kind of in between Man City and the rest of the pack, who's almost 2 to 1. So I think you've swayed me more with the fact that Kolarov is probably a better play than Hart rather than actually wanting to play Begovic. So All right. Well, let's we're not playing Newcastle players. They looked fine against Chelsea. They they made. I played Mitrovic for fun, and I think he drew like 9 fouls. He didn't really do anything else. They'll be rested, and they've got nothing to lose as well. But Jose Perez is solid. But we're in the end we're not using spots on Newcastle players.
I agree. I think the only team I have 0 player from.
Yeah,
probably.
All right. Norwich hosting Leicester. Norwich has looked pretty decent. I think that they have also been rather fortunate. If you start to dig into their numbers a little bit, it's not as pretty as you would hope. They have given up the 3rd most big chances. They have given up the 4th most goal attempts in the box over the season. And I think, if I remember correctly, it's even worse of late. They're the absolute worst team in goal attempts in the box conceded in the past 4 weeks. Second to Stoke in big chances conceded. They're not giving up as many goals as they should. I don't think it's because they have a good defense. So I think that Leicester may go under-owned away, and I think there's probably something there that things are going to turn around and they're going to start giving up goals. I think this is going to be the highest scoring match of the weekend. What do you think?
On paper, I don't like Norwich in general. Having said that, the stats, you need to be careful, because one game against Southampton, they got a red card at the 20th minute and they got murdered that game. It's the same with Stoke when they faced Arsenal and they were and you look at those 2 games, it was ridiculous. I mean, it was like the stats are completely outlier stats. So
all right,
pay attention to the stats. Those two teams are not as bad as it looks, just because of one single game, effectively. But I agree, on paper they're not that good. I kind of disagree with Leicester being not highly owned. I think Mahrez will be crazily owned.
Right.
Vardy as well. And for that reason, I'm happy to go down. I mean, I won't be that high on those 2 players. I mean, Mahrez has been great, but a lot came down to stupid penalties that he got. He got 2 or 3 penalties in. I mean, you gotta expect Leicester to get 3 penalties over the season. They already got 3 over 7 games. So, and Vardy is the same. He's a guy we know. I mean, we know him from last year. He's an okay player, but he's not really world-class striker, right? So I think those 2 guys will be very highly owned, especially Mahrez. I don't think I will have so many players from this game, actually, because it's a game that I don't like. It could go so many ways. I'd rather get some Aston Villa guys, for example, because they're much cheaper and they will be so lowly owned compared to Mahrez and Vardy. That's even Brighton. Everybody loves Brighton, it seems, on Mondogoal. I don't know why, but I've never been that high on Leicester, and that has cost me quite a lot in the last 6 months. But in general, I'm happy to fade that game, I would say.
All right. Well,
it's the same as Norwich. They're so expensive now. I mean, I like Redmond, but it's over 10 million.
Houlihan's 10 million.
Yeah,
Brady's 7.2. If Brady plays up on the wing again, he sends in enough crosses, and Leicester is just they're so spotty defensively that. I guess the problem is they don't have anybody to finish it. I think Jerome has to be done sooner than later. Do you think they'll give?
Well, they bought this guy, Mbokani.
Mbokani, yeah.
I don't know him.
I hear he's supposed to be decent. I don't know why he can't manage to beat out Jerome, who's been,
It's he came up from Eastern Europe, and they had basically had no training the whole summer, so he had to build up everything from scratch. So that's the main reason. I don't know. They're expensive, but yeah, it's not too bad. I don't think I will have that many strikers, that many players from this team. I will have 0 defenders from neither teams, but I will have a few Mahrez just to be to go with the crowd a little, but I will definitely have less than this that. Probably, I would guess it will be 40% on. To be honest, it's ridiculous. I mean, last week against Arsenal, he was in half the teams.
Yeah,
and it was Arsenal. So I guess people will see Norwich, so they will jump on him. I mean, if you click he has a ridiculous amount of points. He has, I don't know, an average of 13 or 14 points, which is much higher than the rest. So if you don't spend that much time, you go there, you see who has the highest points historically, and you see Mahrez, and you click on him because it's 10 million. Yeah. So it will be highly owned.
I hope you're prepared for him to burn you then, because he's going to.
He has done it, but that's fine.
He'll do it again. I just don't like the other options in midfield that much. Payet maybe, but I think you could fit both, and I think
but you have 2 Man City players, right?
Man City, Mahrez, and Payet. I can make that fit, I think.
Well, it's going to be difficult.
It'll be difficult. You would have to take 2 really inexpensive strikers, inexpensive keeper, and a 6.5 million defenders. But I think it's doable, and I think that those are the top players on the slate outside of Aguero, personally.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
I'm happy to be burnt by Mahrez again. That's fine.
You realize, though, that Norwich is actually projected for the 3rd most goals this week across the entire week.
Because
I don't know if you can predict where they come from. Could be Redmond. He has good form when he starts, which isn't always, which is mind-boggling. I think if I make a bunch of teams, I think I might get Brady in a few. I might get Houlihan, Redmond, just because it sounds like if you're not into them, then they may end up being lower owned than I think. Maybe even Jerome. He's cheap enough that if he's in the box, and Leicester is just they're prone to really poor defensive play, so maybe he can stumble into one. All right, Sunderland has been poor. I think probably not as poor as it seemed. They've had a very tough schedule. I don't like Sunderland by any means. I predicted that Pantilimon would not do what he did last year, considering the amount of traffic that he was going to face, and I think he's been poor on top of that. But I think I like West Ham even less, despite their big away wins. Would you gamble on Sunderland's defense? Would you take Lens or Defoe if Defoe's fit? And on the same question, would you also want to get involved in West Ham just in case Sunderland is as bad as they've played?
So Sunderland defense, they're very cheap. That's the only reason why I would consider them. Not too much though. Defoe, no. I have 0 Defoe. It's bad. It's harsh. I should. Is he on penalty? I don't know.
I think he has to be.
It's been bad. It's probably on penalty. Yeah. I might reconsider. Okay, let's say I will have between 0 to 5%.
Lens?
Lens, Lens, I have 0. So no, I think I have 0 Sunderland actually.
It's hard to actually make a decision anywhere.
And again, you have so many cheap strikers. I mean, we say Gestede, Murray, etc. And I prefer those guys to Defoe, to Borini. Lens is good, but if he was a midfielder, I would definitely buy Lens.
He should be midfield. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, Lens is my favorite one. If I have to pick one Sunderland guy, it will be Lens. But I would really have.
What do you know about Ola Toivonen?
I know he was awful in the French league last year. Absolutely awful. Rennes. I don't know. It's I'm not a fan. He had great stat last week, actually. Before that was awful, but last week, surprisingly, look at his stat last week. It was
in Capital One Cup against Manchester City. He got the goal.
Yeah. No, but last week in the Premier League as well, he did well.
Did he?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't score, but his stats
5 points for 4.6 million, and that was against United. I think he's going to play the 10. I think he may play the 10.
He's playing behind the striker, which is They might change that tomorrow on Saturday. So
I don't know. If 4.6 million, if you want that midfield that we discussed.
No, he's a striker. I
know that. I'm saying that you can put him as a forward at 4.6 million to get the midfield, the four midfielders that we discussed. But I don't know enough about him to really be too heavy. Looking back through his game log for Rennes, it's not very impressive. a lot of low single digits. But I think West Ham is really bad. So if he's up there, then, and it's particularly if Defoe doesn't start because he still has a hamstring problem. At 4.6 million, I don't think you have to convince me that he's any good at all to consider him. So,
but you have Borini's 4.4, for example.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd rather get Borini than Koivunen. But yeah, I mean, for me, I have zero of them. So
yeah,
I have zero. Yeah.
All right.
It's a shame because, as you said, I mean, I watched Sunderland against Tottenham. They were good, and in general, you watch the highlights, and they're not that bad, but it's just a conversion. They can't score.
I mean, Billy Jones is free at defender at 4.2 million. He's hurt you at that price. You think they'd play Yedlin over him?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's 50-50 for me. Yeah.
Yeah, but I read an article about it that they sort of want to play Yedlin, but the problem they run into is Yedlin is so bad in terms of his
defensively.
Defensively and his footwork. He's just because he's not a skilled player that he can only play on the right. I think that's the case. He can only play on the right, and they didn't want to move him, and they want to keep Van Aanholt in there, and I think it was Jones that they were worried about moving off. But Yedlin is, I'd rather him play as a winger than as a defender. I like that he's listed. He's also 6.8 million, so we're not using Yedlin anyways, but. I don't know. He's fast. That's about all he's got going for him. All right. What about West Ham? Payet is gotten expensive, but I think he's looked very good. He's 13.1 million. Sacco has one of the highest expected goal numbers on the season, and he scored a few of them, but he's even underperformed that. Would you have that combination on one team at least?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, no, definitely. I think I like Sacco. Payet is good, but it's the kind of guy, like, for fantasy, he's better in real life than in fantasy because he doesn't shoot too much. he can assist, but for 13 million, then you need 2 assists to. So I don't know. I like Payet like in real life. I'm not such a big fan on this slate because I think Sunderland will tighten up, and yeah, I'm not sure we'll have. It's the same as Mahrez. I think tons of people will have Mahrez, Payet. I mean, you mentioned those two in your perfect team, and those two will be my 2 fades of the week basically. I don't say I will have 0 of them. Obviously, I will have a few, but not that much. Moses is good, but he's playing 60 minutes, so he's a no-go. I don't know why as well. I mean, when he's playing great, he's playing 62 minutes. When he's playing bad, he's playing 57 minutes. So that's a problem. Lanzini is so cheap. Why not? I think I will have a few Lanzini.
Yeah.
And the rest, I mean, Kouyaté, Noble, they're okay. They're okay players. So yeah, I will have a few West Ham. I like them in general.
Yeah,
I'm quite bullish on them actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that he has them playing well. Obviously, you can't take away the wins that they've had, and maybe Bilic, when he gets up on the, away from home, he just is a solid manager and knows how to control the game after that. But just looking at their underlying metrics, it's not the most impressive. But it's Sunderland, and Sunderland has been poor this year. And if West Ham strikes first, then Sunderland has to start pressing for goals, and then you've got Payet and Saka striking on the counter, which I think is attractive. The one game that most people probably missed from a fantasy perspective because it wasn't included in the main slate was that Monday night game against Newcastle where he had 2 goals. I think Payet is he is fairly explosive. He only has 5 shots on target in 7 games, which is not ideal.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's gotten up to 13 million. So, his price went up because of that 2-goal match that nobody could profit off of. And, maybe we let him come back down to 11.5 million or so and start looking again. All right. The last match of the Saturday slate is Chelsea hosting Southampton at the Bridge. I think the Chelsea striker is going to be a huge question mark. It's hard to know if Remy has completely fallen out of good graces with Mourinho. And even if he has, can Falcao be counted on to start? Would they, try a completely different direction? What do you think Mourinho plans to do to try to stop the bleeding?
Yeah, well, it's a tough one to say. I mean, we'll see if he opens up tomorrow in a press conference. It's kind of the only game where you really needed to have the lineups before. Really, I mean, I wouldn't mind to have like Sunderland, West Ham at 5:30 because I could guess pretty much a lineup at least of West Ham. This one is impossible. I mean, Ivanovic is like below 6 million. He will be in pretty much all my lineups if I knew he would start, but he has been terrible. So same with Oscar. I mean, he's 9 million. Is a great play. I'm not sure he will start. Falcao is 4 million. If he starts, is probably better than Borini or Toivonen.
Yeah.
Not by much, but not by much. Hazard is safe, but it's 15 million. So yeah, it's very hard. Even the centre backs. I mean, last year they play all the games together. Now probably would recall Terry, right? He has to.
But it's really Zuma's actually been pretty good though. So
no, it will play Zuma Terry.
Okay, over Cahill. Yeah, that makes it complicated. Yeah. Like you said, if on the flip side, if Ivanovic plays, he's one of the better defender options. But if Mane or Tadic plays on the left, I want them going up against Ivanovic as well. Can you imagine Mane going up against Ivanovic the way he's defending right now, that's all Southampton will do. And you better believe that Southampton, a numbers-based club, knows exactly where Chelsea has been soft over the the first 7 game weeks, and they're gonna attack that weakness, and that could definitely mean Mane on the left wing, attacking, coming in, getting shots off, crosses into Pella. I don't trust Chelsea right now, and I would probably look at. I think Mane could be a really solid differential with a high upside. Yeah, a high upside and a fairly decent floor, because Ivanovic is going to have to foul him, and he'll take shots too, which is something that some of those other midfielders are more reluctant to do.
Yeah, no, I'm more bullish than you on Chelsea. I think they kind of step up when they need to as well. I mean, we saw it against Arsenal.
Did we?
They can play.
They looked bad until they got a gift red card.
Yeah, but the first 45 minutes was really. I mean, you could see he was playing a 0-0, and that's probably why he might play tomorrow.
If anything, Arsenal looked better in the first 45 minutes.
Well, they always look better than anyone, and then they lose against Olympiacos. I mean, they look better against Olympiacos as well, but they're kind of like that. They look good, but then, well, that's another story. But I don't know. I mean, again, I will have Begovic. If tomorrow he confirms Ivanovic is playing, I will have tons of Ivanovic. I'm more than happy to be the only guy to play the Chelsea defense this weekend. Really, really happy with that. Get your Sunderland, Bournemouth, or whatever. I'll get Chelsea.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, but if you had been using that philosophy the last 7 weeks, you would have lost a good bit of money. And the bookies are doing the same thing. I think the bookies know that no matter what, you're going to be reluctant to really go heavy against Chelsea, because you just fear that their wage bill and their reputation is just going to turn on a dime, and they're going to start playing well again. But
well, and Mourinho as well. He hasn't had this kind of season ever. So
yeah,
I mean, you say like players start to be worried about the future, etc. Maybe, but at the end of the day, it's the same team as last year. I mean, I've never been bullish on them. I mean, they are nowhere near like winning a Champions League or anything like that. But when it comes to like playing this mid-table Premier League teams at home and knowing how to keep a clean sheet, there's no team better than Chelsea. And okay, the last 5-6 weeks have been quite a different story. But all in all, if you take a larger sample, you will see that, I don't know, I wouldn't bet the house against like on a Chelsea clean sheet, but in this slate, for me, they're by far the second best defense.
And you don't want the Manchester City defense as much, because you want their attack. Basically, yeah.
And they're so expensive as well, and I don't want Demichelis as well. So the only guy capable of giving me a negative point despite keeping a clean sheet. I mean, last time he got 3 points and he got a clean sheet. He got a yellow card, fouled 6 times. He's awful.
Oh man.
So, I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, but in any other slates, like, I would probably not be that bullish on Chelsea, because I agree. I like Southampton a lot. It's just, is Chelsea worse than, I don't know, Aston Villa against Stoke? I'm not too sure. I don't think so. It's all relative. I mean, it's
yeah.
Begovic keeps, like, he saves a lot of. He has a lot of saves. Ivanovic has had attacking potential, as Piliqueta as well. So yeah, I don't mind having those guys.
All right.
But again, we don't know the lineup, so I wish I could be more bullish on Chelsea than I will be. But It's just a problem of lineups and late swaps.
Yeah, but
Let's not
I think
reopen that.
I think that ultimately that'll help you though, because you do make enough teams and will do so intelligently that I think a lot of managers will just leave that game alone or because of the doubt. And so they're
Well, I will have 0 Ivanovic, and I would have over 50% if I knew he would start. So that's the difference here. So effectively, I would be like the other managers, despite liking them. So it's a bit frustrating.
So why are you so concerned about Ivanovic now after he managed to not get benched?
I think the crowd turned on Mourinho to drop Terry and not Ivanovic. And now it's all over in the press, like, why is Ivanovic the captain of Chelsea when he's been the worst Chelsea player, etc. So to keep, like, what Mourinho doesn't want is after 20 minutes, it's still 0-0, or even they concede an early goal. And if he starts losing the crowd, he knows it's game over, because, I mean, Abramovich might like him, but we know Abramovich listened to the crowd at the end. And not to the managers. So Mourinho made that mistake once. He made that mistake a second time in Madrid, getting the crowd against him by dropping Casillas, etc. He might learn his, like, I don't know. I feel like he might just say, okay, let's go with the crowd. I give you back Terry. I drop, and then if we lose, well, guess what? It's what you wanted. That's what I think he will do.
That's interesting.
It's not Mourinho type, but
I think expecting Mourinho to learn a lesson is an even bigger long shot than just expecting him to be stubborn and do exactly what he wants to do and not care what anybody else thinks. I think that's what we're going to see.
In general, Ivanovic. So if he's dropped, it's not like, even in general, it wouldn't be such a big surprise to see him being dropped. I mean, against Porto again, is that 2 goals come from him.
Yeah.
So
I guess, but if Mourinho's not acknowledging that, and he continues to give him the armband and has played him despite him looking terrible, the rest of the season as well. I don't know. I hear you though. I'm probably not taking him because I do think he's been poor, unless he says the lineup will be unchanged, which is impossible because Oscar and Remy probably need to play. Pedro's been surprisingly bad after his first game. I think that
he bounced a lot of people last week for sure.
I was one of them. But yeah. Anyhow, all right. Let's go quickly through the Sunday matches. These are matches that I'll be interested in watching just because they're some high-profile teams and some good rivalries. But from a fantasy standpoint, I don't know how great they'll be, and they're not included in the big contest. So, but if you want to play the Sunday only with 3 games with some high profile names and clubs, it could be good. Starting with a huge rivalry, Everton-Liverpool. Everton, if that game ends 2-0 at West Brom, it's a completely different story than it is now. You've got Deulofeu looking like it makes no sense that he hadn't started earlier. Lukaku's looked very good. Ross Barkley, he's looked better this year. He missed a sitter. He's still, I don't know. He still has limited passing touch, and I have trouble. I just feel like he'll burn me if I take him. But what about those guys as well as the Everton, Howard and the defense, assuming Stones is back?
Yes, I think he will be back. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's like it could go either way. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this game in general for defense. You in a derby, you never know. Having said that, if you look at the 3 games, who is going to keep a clean sheet? It's very hard to say. I would probably be bullish more on Swansea, to be honest. And we kind of know that the defense is very settled. If I have to stack on the defense for this slate, because you kind of have to on such a slow, like for 3 games, I would definitely go Swansea, and very, very little on Liverpool and even Everton. I like Barkley though. It's probably my favorite play of the slate.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Liverpool had a draw this evening.
Yeah, it was a B team, to be honest.
Yeah, sure, but they just haven't really created many chances. Going away, I think Everton is going to be, if they get Stones and Coleman back, they look a lot better defensively than what they ran out against West Brom.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm okay with that game. That game, like you said, it's fairly unpredictable. I think 1-1 is probably a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be good. I'll actually be out in California, so that game's going to be coming on. I think at 4:45 a.m. So that'll be one I may miss unless my kids.
No, it will be 5:30.
Okay, that's still pretty early.
Yeah,
we'll see. Arsenal United. All of a sudden, could be playing for more than just that 4th Champions League spot. If City continue to struggle and Chelsea are as poor as they've been. Arsenal looked better against Leicester than go and obviously looked terrible against Olympiacos. Do you think they'll recover in time to be able to handle United?
I think they probably will have possession. The problem of this slate is that it's like all the players are expensive. So do you really want to spend 12 million on Walcott or on Cazorla, etc.? I mean, especially it's hard to get. I mean, it's very tough. I don't think I will play much of the Sunday games, to be honest. Probably I would, if I'd play, I would have a few Arsenal. Alexi is kind of a must-have. He's still 10 million, so that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest, I mean, if you play cash, and I don't think there are that many cash games on Sundays. If you play cash, Cazorla is always a good player. For the rest, I'm not a big fan. They are too expensive for what they bring at the end. So
yeah,
I'd rather get some Coutinho or Ross Barkley than getting some Arsenal midfield, to be honest.
Yeah, I like Ozil. His
yeah,
numbers,
but he doesn't score.
No. Yeah, I mean, I just think this is going to be a very difficult slate, like you mentioned, just because there's a lot of high prices, and that if you could get, rather than shooting for 100, 120 points, I think you're more likely to probably only need, 75, 80, assuming there aren't many goals. Then you can look at Ozil and say, okay, his floor is probably in the 5, 6, 7 range, and then if he gets an assist, he does all right. But I don't think. Well, let's see. What do they update Martial's price yet?
I haven't checked. No, I haven't. Well, maybe it's 5 million, I think, instead of 4.5. So you would have to put Martial in all your teams.
5-2, yeah, you have to.
Okay, fine.
You have to.
So you have to put Martial. You probably have to put Alexi, and then you have to put another guy, probably either Lukaku or Sturridge, whoever you like in this Everton Liverpool game. I think that would be what everybody would.
You wouldn't take Gomes?
Playing time is an issue. Not much. No.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Lukaku or Sturridge than. Yeah. No. As I said, I would focus mostly on the defense of Swansea if I had to.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Moving on to that game, Gomes has quieted down quite a bit. The whole team has quieted down quite a bit. And I was pointing this out, sort of like you corrected me with some of the stats that I was looking at. Swansea looked a lot better on paper and in their matches because they were going against 10-man teams the first two matches for like 45 minutes. Then they went and drew against Sunderland, and in general they're moving back towards the mid-table team that we kind of thought they were. Tottenham coming off a huge win against Manchester City. Then they drew against Monaco on a late goal. They won't have Son again. He's picked up a knock. Kane is still a far cry from the form he had, and now he's away here. I think I could get behind your Swansea call. Fabianski's 7-6, Naughton's 8-3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
not too cheap. Yeah, I agree.
There aren't many cheap options, but there's nobody particularly expensive either.
Yeah, that's a problem of this slate. Yeah.
If the average is 9.1 million, if you're using 100 million for 11 spots, I think you can fit that relatively easily. The highest you're going to go is if you wanted to play Juan Mata at 13-2 or to pay at 12-7. And if you use Marseille, then all of a sudden you basically can have whatever 11 you want. And I don't know. I think we'll see. I may throw this. I saw there's a few double ups and some other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if I'll wake up in time for lineups.
Yeah,
which is stupid, but I think Everton and Liverpool are relatively predictable tomorrow or for Sunday anyhow. I don't know. I think I'll dabble just because I'll be watching the matches anyways, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good reason.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Nick. Always a pleasure to have you on and talk through things. I hope I gave you some nuggets for your 27th entry into the big contest, because I know you don't listen to me otherwise, but you don't want to fade me entirely. We'll see how much Joe Hart I have now. You've got me worried about that. But I think this is not a great week. It's never good when Manchester City is head and shoulders above everybody else, and you're basically playing 7-on-7. So we'll see. It's probably a week for contrarian Nick to come out and find some pockets of low-owned players that'll score goals, and maybe Manchester City only gets 2, and we'll see what happens. There's enough potential for that to do that, and cash teams will just have a lot of overlap and probably not something we want to be too highly invested in this slate. So thanks a lot, Nick. Best of luck to you. Not that you need it, and we'll catch you again soon.
Yep. Thanks a lot. Talk soon.
All right.